It could have been yet another moment of peril in a world that's already reeling under a lot. Tonight we're talking about Taiwan. China is continuing military drills around Taiwan beyond the 4-day schedule it had initially announced. Its military for the first time fired missiles over Taipei. It flew drones over Taiwan's offshore islands, sailed warships, and surrounded the self-ruled island of Taiwan. All of this has passed without any major escalation so far. All of it triggered by this visit of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, and the first person of her rank to visit Taiwan in nearly 30 years. Tonight on Newsworthy, why did she go? Who gained, who lost most by this visit? And if you're new to the strains between Taiwan and China, well, then that's coming up as well. Let's start with the first question on everybody's mind. Why did 82-year-old Nancy Pelosi really go to Taiwan for roughly about 18 hours? The White House did not sanction this trip. In fact, the US president publicly admitted that the US military felt that this trip to Taiwan was not a good idea. But Pelosi, who's second in line to the US presidency, flew into Taiwan on a US military aircraft, signaling all the government heft you can signal. China saw this, and obviously also all her televised meetings. Now, Beijing considers Taiwan as part of a larger One China that also includes Hong Kong. I'm going to talk more about it in just a minute. But safe to say that the Pelosi visit was a bit like poking the hornet's nest, right? So why did she do this? Well, Nancy Pelosi has been a fervent defender of Taiwan and a critic of China's human rights abuses for a long time, across her 35-year-old long career, even when domestic politics was her mainstay. Early in her political career, she held up a pro-democracy banner on Tiananmen Square in Beijing. This was just 2 years after the massacre. After that, she went back home and worked on a law to provide US citizenship to Chinese students who were fleeing persecution at the time. Nancy Pelosi has regularly irritated Beijing's leadership by meeting dissidents from China. Her actions are obviously good politics. She represents San Francisco, that's home to a large Chinese population, which, remember, in the 1980s was dominated by people who had fled China or had some kind of roots in Taiwan and Hong Kong. She has opposed China's hosting of the Olympics. She has asked for tough trade treatment of the country bilaterally and at the WTO due to its rights record. Every year in Congress, she makes note of the Tiananmen incident. So when Nancy Pelosi said that her trip was about promoting Taiwan's vibrant democracy, some could say she definitely had the cred to back it, right? But critics also suggest that this was a sort of a last hurrah before November's midterm elections in the US, where she could lose the speaker's gavel. Some called the trip a show, purely symbolic, utterly reckless, that Taiwan didn't really gain anything from it. In fact, it was put at risk for it. And to be honest, you can see the argument on both sides. An ill-timed gesture on Nancy Pelosi's part? Yes. But could one really allow the Chinese to bully her out of the trip? The fact is that no matter how hard the White House tried to paint this as just another lawmaker on a tour in one part of the world, Pelosi, the choice of her words in Taiwan, all of this enraged China. The story actually goes back to 1949. Mao founded the People's Republic of China by winning the Civil War. The nationalists, who were led by Mao's arch-rival Chiang Kai-shek, retreated to Taiwan, officially known as the Republic of China, mind you. Taiwan has been independently ruled since then, but Beijing's stance always has been that there is one China and Taiwan is a part of it. Unifying it is a key piece of China's unfinished business. So where does America officially stand? Well, officially, America commits to the One China policy, which means it recognizes formal ties with China rather than Taiwan. But the US, being the US, also maintains ties with Taiwan. It sells weapons to it. Joe Biden himself twice this year has said that America will support Taiwan if China has any plans to attack or invade. So, America's Taiwan policy, well, confusing. Diplomatic experts who called it strategic ambiguity are now saying it's strategic confusion. But the thing to also ask here is, what did this trip actually mean for Taiwan, its 23 million people? Well, remember, this was a rare, high-profile visit for Taiwan, welcome in the face of isolation that it regularly faces on account of China's pressure. But the short-term benefit was offset by the fact that Taiwan today finds itself in a far worse strategic environment than it did before the visit. It is facing and continuing to face the might of China's military drills. The US and allies like Japan, yes, have condemned those drills, but that's about it. These drills, many say, actually changed the status quo of Taiwan's security, and China could put more pressure, could push more in the future. What about China itself? Well, all of this has come at a very sensitive time for its president, Xi Jinping. He's expected to secure a third 5-year leadership term at a key Communist Party Congress that happens later this year. It also has to be said that for all its bluster, China failed to deter a Pelosi visit to Taiwan, but it has responded in an aggressive way, in a military way, apart from halting cooperation with the US on 3 key issues. That's the climate crisis, the anti-drug efforts, and military talks. Let's try and wrap all of this together. At the end of this trip, what did Pelosi get? Well, she got support from Republicans who applauded her back home for defying China. They blamed the Democrats for being weak. Everybody else, Taiwan, China to some extent, and the United States are picking up the pieces in the aftermath of that trip. I'm going to stop here in this video. Hope this was useful in giving you some sense of a vital story, of a newsworthy story that, mind you, is going to keep coming back into the headlines. I'm counting on you as always to share this video, drop in any questions or comments about how you are seeing or reading about these events. Also a reminder, you can of course do the regular drill, like, share and subscribe, but better still would be to support this video and make a small monetary contribution here on YouTube itself. If you're watching this on Instagram, remember the link to contribute via Razorpay is in our bio. It also sits in the description on YouTube. If you've been watching so far, thank you very much for your time.